So let's begin with the second chapter of your book, Indian Culture and Heritage, and in this chapter we are going to study about Indian culture. So what are the objectives of this chapter? We will be describing the distinctive features of Indian culture in the characteristics of Indian culture. Then we will identify the central points and uniqueness of Indian culture. What is so unique about Indian culture? What is so different about Indian culture? And then we will discuss the importance of spirituality in Indian culture. Spirituality is an integral part of Indian culture, knowing ourselves as spirits, not only as bodies. So that will give an extra importance to the Indian culture. And then we'll explain the points of diversity as well as the underlying unity in it. And then we'll see how the other elements from the other cultures has also infused in the Indian culture. So let's begin with the characteristics of Indian culture. So Indian culture is as many-sided as life. It includes intellectual and social aspects of any human being. It also takes into account the aesthetic instinct as well as spiritual impulses of a human being. It has also an effect and appeal to the subconscious as a force making for the formation of a character. So what are they saying basically? Basic characteristic of Indian culture is that it is both intellectual as well as it tells you about how should we think. Intellectual meaning how should we think, the Gyan Marg. What is the Gyan what is the knowledge that should guide us, as well as social aspect. That means how should we live our everyday life, how should we talk, how should we speak, how should we walk, how should we interact with each other, how should we look after each other. All those things are also taken care by the Indian culture. It has aesthetic instinct also. Aesthetic meaning that it takes care of the beauty aspect of how we present ourselves. That is, the way we dress up, the way we present ourselves, the way we decorate our homes and other architecture, all those things come in the part of aestheticism, aesthetic sense. And the spiritual impulses also of a human being. It also, it is an appeal to the subconscious. So it actually acts on our subconscious mind to form a character. That is our higher mind. It tells us how our character should be. So now there is a bit of a background of Indian culture, and it says that many great cultures have developed in different countries and regions of the world. Many of them have perished. That means they are no more there today, or have been replaced by other cultures. You can see so many other cultures. If you see America also, it is an amalgamation of so many different cultures, mix up of so many different cultures. It is not as it was earlier. And Australia, Swami was mentioning that all these countries have lost their original culture. Many of them have just ceased to exist. Their cultures have ceased to exist. That means these cultures are no more there in the world. Why? Because they got influenced by the other people's culture, other cultures. And on the way, they lost their own culture. However, Indian culture has had the enduring character. Enduring meaning it has never dying character. So despite major changes and upheavals, significant threads of continuity can be traced throughout the course of Indian history right up to the present day. So you can very well see for yourself, so many nations have entered our nation. Westerners came, people from eastern part of the world also came, and they remained here. They rather became a part of it. We took so many things from their culture. We gave them also our culture, but we remained with our own culture. Our own culture remained intact with some influences, yes. Now some examples. Harappan Civilizations. You must have heard the name of it. It's one of the most ancient civilizations of the world. It was flourished in India, and it was found somewhere in 1921-22 in Punjab region, Sindh region. This is in Pakistan, no more in India. So it was, how old it was? It was around 4,005 years years ago. Archaeologists have found evidences to show that cultures existed here even before the matured phase of Harappan civilization. So before the civilization meaning people coming together and staying there in a big way, and in the political system, democratic system, how they were living, with each other. Even before that, there was a culture. Culture meaning their architecture was there, their language was there, texts were there, some form of religion was there. So some aspect of Harappan culture are still practiced. So you can see how old was that culture and still it is practiced. Such as the worshipping of Mother Goddess and Pashupati. Similarly, Vedic, Buddhist, Jain and many other traditions continue to be followed even today. So they are very ancient Vedic practices, but they are still there in our country. That means we can safely say that India has kept its culture alive. At the same time, one should not lose sight of the changes that are evident. So many changes have come, yes. The metropolitan cities, you can see Mumbai, Delhi, quite unlike the Harappan houses that had only one story. So we developed this multi-storied buildings and all those things from other countries, but still we still have the reminiscences, some parts left of the old culture also with us. So some pictures I have collected for you. You can just have a look as to how it is. And this is for the Harappan civilization. This civilization grew in the Punjab and Sindh region, which is now in Pakistan, and it had a systematic town planning where roads cut each other at the right angles. It was even better planned than what we see today. They had a profound knowledge of mathematics, weights and measures. They had built their towns in a scientific manner and had an elaborate drainage system. The Harappans had external trade and travelled across the seas to trade with the Sumerians. So some other countries also, they travelled to do their trade. So what about the Indian culture which makes it so unique? It says the character of variety is there in Indian culture, as well as the unity, underlying unity is also there. That unity part of it has kept the Indian culture alive. And how do you see the variety? We see variety from different regions and cultures from time to time that has integrated into itself. The Indian culture is like a mother culture. It has taken all the babies who came from any other direction and made it her own. So indeed, few cultures in the world have such variety as the Indian culture. So a large number of languages and dialects are spoken in our country. So what are we talking about in this slide? We are telling you that Indian culture has so much of variety. So many languages and dialects are spoken. Dialect is a baby of a language. So it is not a recognized language, but it is a different forms in a particular region that are called dialects. So which has led to the growth of a great variety of literature. So you can see North Indian literature, South Indian literature, East Indian literature, West Indian literature. You'll see variety of literature will be there, and it will take the culture from that region itself. People belonging to 8 great religions of the world coexist here. So you can see that there are main 8 great religions that are recognized, and they are here in India. And that also they live in a harmonious manner. Sometimes we see some kind of fights happening between some religions, but ultimately they all come down to this idea of unity, that we belong to one country, and our country basically and humanity is our culture. Spirituality is our culture. So because the India takes its roots from the spirituality, and that is how all these cultures have remained in India. And it has been a ground to various other religions also, world religions such as Jainism, Buddhism. Buddhism is the largest religion in the world, followed by Hinduism, then Sikhism, and of course Hinduism. Then numerous styles of architecture. We have already discussed with you what is an architecture, the way we design our buildings. It will tell you which part of country it can be from. So that is architecture. Sculpture, how we carve our statues from stones, that is the art of sculpture, and painting have developed here. So numerous styles of architecture, sculpture and paintings, they have developed in our country. In the first class we had shown you so many slides showing the different kinds of architecture, different kinds of sculpture and paintings that flourished in India. Different styles of music and dance also, both folk and classical. That also we discussed in the first class with you. Folk is the art form which is practiced in the common people, and classical is what we find in our spiritual or the texts, the shastras. They exist in the country. So now our numerous festivals and customs are also there. This wide variety has led to the making of Indian culture both composite one and rich and beautiful at the same time. So many varieties make it look so colorful and beautiful, as well as so rich. India has so much of culture for itself and to offer it to the world. Okay, so you have various ethnic groups like Iranians, Greeks, Kushanas, Shakas, Hunas, Arabs, Turks, Mughals and Europeans. They all came to India. They settled here and intermixed with the local population. So the people belonging to other cultures brought their culture, habits, thoughts and ideas, which got amalgamated. That means it got mixed into the existing Indian culture at that time. You will be surprised to know that it was only around 2nd century BC, that is the before Christ, 200 years before Christ, that stitched clothes such as salwars, kurtas, tops, etc. were brought to India by the Kushanas, Shakas and Partihans. Prior to that, Indians wore clothes which were unstitched. That's why you can see the saris. Sari is a good example of to show it is an unstitched cloth. It is just a length of cloth. And the men wore dhoti. So that also is an unstitched cloth. And on the upper part they would wear angavastram. Like that. So, but now the stitching came from the other countries. The latest in the introduction of shirts, trousers, skirts, etc. All that came from Western as well as some Arabian countries. Despite of having so much of variety, India has a secular outlook. Secular outlook meaning India does not propagate one type of ideology only, saying that only is the truth. That is the beauty of Indian culture. Indian culture will never say that only this particular culture or this particular religion only everybody should follow. And whereas you can see in the world there are many countries which are following only one kind of religion and one kind of culture. And they say that only this culture and this religion only will be practiced in this country. But in our country, all these kind of cultures are equally respected. Religions are equally respected, and even the Constitution of India gives you the right to choose your religion. You may be born in a whatever family, you may be born as a Hindu or a Muslim. You may change your religion if you feel like. So, this is the constitutional freedom that is given to you. And so many religions stay in India. So, right to freedom of religion ensures secular nature of our polity, that is our political system. In the Western context, development of secularism meant complete separation of the church and the state. So there is a big difference between our secular outlook and the other countries' secular outlook. For them, secularism would mean, Western countries, that state and religion will not mix with each other. But for our country, secularism meant that India will practice religion in all forms. That was the meaning of religion in our country. That was the meaning of secularism in our country. Because we have a very complex social structure in the country with a view of protecting the interests of all and particularly the minorities. You must be knowing what the minorities are. Those who are less in number in our country. They may be following a particular religion. They may be very less in number. So Indian Constitution gives them extra right to exercise their religious rights. So here comes the other point about Indian culture, which is its universalism. That Indian culture is universal. It is not related only or fixed only to our country. The concept of coexistence has not been confined to the geographical and political boundaries of this country only. So we can't say that this kind of dance or dialect will be followed only here in this region. These kind of values will be followed only here. No, we have a very universal outlook, and it has been promoting the message of peace and harmony to the entire world. So India says Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the entire world is our family, and we all live like brother and sisters, not only our country, but the entire world is a family. India has been raising a strong voice against racialism and colonialism. So racism, which is practiced in some parts of the world, which is based on the color, differences in color, the differences in the people's outlook and their behavior with each other, being black or white, and colonialism. That means some country, some more powerful country is colonizing the less powerful country. So India raises a voice against that, and India does not ever promote such a thing. It has protested against the formation of power blocks in the world. So you know how India is now become a country in the UN also, and it does not allow the power blocks to form in the world, because then these strong countries will take all the decisions, and in the turn what will happen? The weak countries will remain as weak as they were. In India, in fact, India became one of the founder members of non-aligned movement. Non-aligned movement meaning we are not towards any particular branch or the nation that we support you or we don't support you. We are for everybody. So we are non-aligned. We are not aligned to any particular set of countries. India is committed to the development of the underdeveloped nations. So India keep helping the smaller countries and the countries which are still developing. In this manner, India has been discharging her responsibilities as a part of the world fraternity and has been contributing to the progress of the world. So the world fraternity would mean living like brothers and sisters, the entire world living like that. And India is the main propagator of this world fraternity. Another point, materialistic and spiritualistic. So Indian culture is both materialistic also and spiritualistic also. So it is culture is spiritual development of a race or a nation in the field of mind, interests, conduct, thought, art, skill and civilization. So spiritual development in all the fields. You can see how it is happening in your own institute, that we get to know, hear about the people who have practiced this spirituality in all aspects of their life, and they are taming their minds, they are mastering their minds, as Swami would put it, to gel it with the spirituality, the spiritual nature, that is the permanent nature of what we are, and all our interests, conduct, thoughts, art, skills and civilization, everything should be in line of that culture which supports spirituality. So India is popularly known to be a kind of spirituality, particularly to the West. So you may see many Western people, people from Western countries, they are very rich, they are very well advanced in materialism, but they are looking for spiritualism, for which they keep coming to India, and many of them settle here because they get the real solace, the real peace of spirituality which is found in India. However, Indian history from ancient times to present day shows that the development of materialistic and non-materialistic culture have been going on alongside. Harappan civilization was an urban one. So you must have seen, even in the first class we had discussed, both materialistic type of culture and non-materialistic type of culture, that is value-based culture, as well as architecture, our dance, drama, furniture, how everything, our food, everything comes in the materialistic part of the culture. So they are both combined, they are not separate from each other. They have this kind of development has always gone alongside, side by side. And you can recall Harappan civilization it advocated worshipping, and but it was an example of a very good town planning also. So there are excellent books on medicines, planets, stars and plants were written even in ancient India. Discoveries on theory like earth rotates around the sun and earth is round were made by Indians long before European accepted them. So you can see how the Vedic, when it was the Vedic time of India, everything was there. That also we discussed in one of the initial slides with you, how people like Aryabhatta and the mathematicians, those who rose from India, and they talked about the space, the maths, science, all those things were discussed, which were later accepted by the world scientists. But India was the first country who talked about them, and India was the first country which invented zero and decimal, which is now so very important in all mathematical concepts. Okay, so in the area of mathematics, fields of medicine and other sciences, you can very well recall the Ayurveda. That has also taken birth from the Indian soil. India's achievements in ancient times have been remarkable. There was no opposition or resistance or by religious or any other thoughts in pursuing such knowledge. So anybody could pursue such knowledge. They can come from different countries and can learn whatever they wanted from Indian soil. So your examples also we gave in the initial classes about Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya, and which was in Bihar, and people came looking for knowledge in our country. Indeed, that Indian culture has been both materialistic and non-materialistic or spiritualistic. So when we say non-materialistic, we mean spiritualistic character of Indian culture. The culture of India is the living expression of the simplicity and profundity of her people. So people live here in simple life. They lived simply. They did not show off their wealth or anything. They would if they were, it would show, but they will not do that. They were basically a simple people, but they lived with high thinking, high values. So what was the cultural identity, religion, region and ethnicity? So our cultural identities are based on various factors such as religion and region. So what kind of culture do we have? The variety of culture that I have will depend on what kind of religion I am following, and that also where am I living, what is my area of region. As a result, each Indian possesses multiple identities. So you can see for yourself, if you are from Karnataka, you are a Kannadiga, still you are following Indian culture, still you are following spirituality, which is the basic theme of Indian culture, as well as you have your own. You may be a Hindu, you may be a Muslim, you may be any other religion also, and this will give you a very unique identity. So you will possess multiple identities. Okay, so and each of these layer of the identity will color your main personality, your cultural identity. Which of these identities asserts itself at a certain point of time and prevails over the others depends on political, social or economic context in which the person finds himself or herself. So you can see whether you are a Kannadiga. If you go to travel to other parts of the country, you will carry some culture of being a Kannadiga yourself, but you will learn from if you are in Punjab, you will learn from Punjab culture, and you will not go and tell them that your culture is better than their culture. So that is this is your social context. You are in a different society, in different social structure. You will maintain your own system, plus you will learn and respect theirs also. Economic context also. What kind of values are being practiced in your system? Are they in line with the economic values that are being followed in the country? So for some reason, you will be sacrificing a part of your culture if it is not coming in line with the overall culture of the country. This is a very important point, that you sacrifice your small identities for a bigger one. So that is the ethos, that is the main idea of the Indian culture. Thus, each person may have some things in common with another, but may be vastly different in some or the other aspects. For example, except belief, forms of worship and rituals, there may be little that is common amongst those who follow a particular faith from the point of view of the whole country. So the whole country basically, they are all different from, they may have, vastly different in some form, some aspects of religion. They may be following some kind of a belief, some form of worship and ritual. But in the they forget about their differences. they are sectarian, and there are regional differences. So these kind of differences are definitely there in this country, but they are sectarian. That means they are different on the basis of sectors in which people are living or region in which people are living. India has had cultural influences also. So what kind of cultural influences did India have? From various other countries. We have already discussed this with you. Before independence came Westerners, and their modes were adopted by the aristocracy. That means the royal people, the kings and the queens of Indian culture, they learned something from the Westerners. They started copying their ways of dressing up and putting their children in English medium schools. And this was the growing demand from English medium schools in the villages is a proof of the statement. So during the struggle for freedom, a new style emerged that became a national style. So you know that English has become so much a part of our culture that we are discussing our own culture in English language. So this in itself tells you that how much India has taken or adapted from the other cultures. And also there is a mention of a popular culture, which is a cinema culture, mass media culture, radio and television. They also reshape images and attitude. So they also help us to come out of our little shells of little regional and sectoral differences and learn about that we belong to one country, which is India. Nationalism, these kind of values and spirituality, these kind of values we also learn from the vast culture, and media is also one of them, modern media. So it promotes the issues that are of both traditional and public interest. Something that will improve our national integrity, our Indian media will promote such issues. So what is Indian culture? It is based on Vedas and Shastras are the sources of inspiration for Hindus, Quran and Hadith for Muslims, and Bible for the Christians. So there are so many scriptures are there, and all are treated equally in the eyes of law. However, at the level of rituals and lifestyles, there is a lot of intermingling among followers of different religions. Ethnic culture is strong among the tribal groups. So at the lower level, at a smaller level, they all follow small different practices. And the tribal culture, if you see, it's very ethnic. That means very native, old culture of our country. And people of different religion and jatis have common regional cultural traits like language, food, dress, values, and also the world view. So different religion and different culture, they also have common language, food, dresses, etc. So this is how we can see the unity and variety. So you can see when you are in your own, look at the left side of this table, you see all are alike. So maybe we belong to one particular religion here. But we come to some other, maybe some metropolitan city, we are there as a part of many other religions. So unity is there. We all live together with our own religions, our own systems, but we still coexist. So it's a beautiful picture to tell you that how we coexist along with our individual uniqueness. We still are together, and how we belong to each other and how we share the knowledge with each other. So universalism is the basic religion of Indian culture, and you can see how secular is India. So this is a nice picture which we have taken from the YouTube for you, just to show you that how different culture and different ways of practice of culture following which also we stay together. With this we end, and we bow down to our dearest Swami, who always teaches us that beyond all the culture, beyond all the tradition and differences, we are all one, and that oneness is what is spirituality. To see that oneness in all the variety is what is our Indian culture all about. Thank you.